Claudia Cardinale, one of the most captivating faces of Italian and international cinema, whose beauty and talent defined an entire era of film, has passed away at the age of 87. Her death marks the end of a chapter in the golden age of European cinema, a period where film was at its most daring, sensual, and intellectually alive. Known for her magnetic screen presence and an earthy sensuality that set her apart from many of her contemporaries, Cardinale was more than just a symbol of beauty. She was a performer who brought depth, dignity, and an undeniable humanity to every character she portrayed. Her passing was confirmed by her agent, who revealed that she died in Nemours, near Paris, where she had been living quietly in recent years. She leaves us the legacy of a free and inspired woman both as a woman and as an artiste, Laurent Savary said in a statement, a line that perfectly encapsulates the essence of a star who never allowed herself to be boxed in by the expectations of Hollywood or the Italian film industry. Born in Tunis, Tunisia, in 1938 to Sicilian parents, Cardinale's beginnings were as unconventional as her eventual stardom. Raised speaking French and Arabic rather than Italian, she never set out to become an actress. Her early dream was to become a teacher. Fate intervened when she won a beauty contest at 18, a competition that promised a trip to the Venice Film Festival. It was there that she caught the eye of producers and directors who saw in her something unique, a Mediterranean beauty whose sultry looks were paired with an unstudied naturalism. At first, she resisted the lure of the film industry, reportedly finding the attention unwanted and even burdensome. But the call of cinema proved too strong to ignore, and she soon enrolled in the Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia, Italy's national film school, where she began to hone her craft. Her first roles were small, often uncredited, but her magnetism could not be hidden for long. By the late 1950s, she had begun to attract serious attention from directors, and her breakthrough came in Luchino Visconti's Rocco and His Brothers, 1960, a sprawling family saga about the struggles of a southern Italian family that relocates to Milan. Even amidst a cast that included some of Italy's finest talents, Cardinale stood out with her portrayal of Ginetta, the wife of the eldest brother. She brought warmth and vitality to the part, adding dimension to a character who could have easily been overshadowed by the film's male-driven narrative. Visconti would cast her again in The Leopard, 1963, where she played Angelica, the beautiful, spirited woman who marries Alain Delon's character in a union that symbolizes the merging of the old aristocracy with the new bourgeoisie. Even though Burt Lancaster dominated the screen as the weary Prince of Salina, critics and audiences alike could not take their eyes off Cardinale, whose performance brought sensuality, mischief, and an undercurrent of intelligence to her scenes. If Visconti gave her gravitas, it was Federico Fellini who turned her into something almost otherworldly. In his surreal masterpiece 8½, 1963, she played a character simply named Claudia, an ethereal muse who represents the unattainable ideal of feminine perfection for Marcello Mastroianni's tortured filmmaker. Cardinale, with her dark hair, deep eyes, and gentle but playful smile, embodied a dreamlike femininity, appearing in white like a vision of grace and forgiveness. Roger Ebert once wrote that her character offered the tantalizing possibility that all will be forgiven, a line that beautifully sums up the way she seems to float through the film, at once real and imaginary, a figment of desire and a symbol of redemption. It was roles like this that solidified Cardinale's reputation not only as a sex symbol but as an actress who could inspire and haunt, playing characters that existed somewhere between reality and fantasy. Cardinale's career was never confined to one country. She seamlessly transitioned between Italian, French, and American cinema, starring opposite some of the biggest names of her era. In Philippe de Broca's Cartouche, 1963, she played opposite Jean-Paul Belmondo in a lively period adventure film, giving a performance that the New York Times praised with almost breathless enthusiasm. The beautiful brunette Claudia Cardinale, who gives her all, including her life, so that he may woo his noble lady, is nobly endowed herself, the paper wrote, not shying away from commenting on her physical allure. But the review went further, noting that it was not just her looks that made her compelling, her quick smile, husky voice, and sense of humor brought her characters to life in a way that felt authentic and engaging. Hollywood, of course, came calling. In Blake Edwards' 1963 comedy classic The Pink Panther, Cardinale played Princess Dalla, the owner of the priceless jewel known as the Pink Panther. The film, which introduced Peter Sellers as the bumbling Inspector Clouseau, was a smash hit, and Cardinale's performance added an exotic glamour to the caper. Decades later, she would return to the franchise in Son of the Pink Panther, 1993, this time starring opposite Roberto Benigni, a nostalgic nod to her earlier success. While some European actresses struggled to adapt to Hollywood's studio system, Cardinale managed to maintain her independence, often turning down roles that she felt were exploitative or shallow. She famously refused to have her voice dubbed early in her career, insisting on using her own deep, slightly raspy voice even though it was not considered conventionally feminine at the time. This choice became one of her trademarks and helped cement her reputation as an actress who played by her own rules. In 1966, Cardinale appeared in Richard Brooks's Western The Professionals, playing Maria, a kidnapped wife whose abduction sets the entire plot in motion. While her screen time was limited compared to her male co-stars Burt Lancaster and Lee Marvin, she was the emotional linchpin of the film. Maria was not a passive damsel in distress, she was a woman with agency, whose own choices and loyalties complicated the moral equations faced by the men trying to rescue her. The film was a critical and commercial success, earning several Oscar nominations and proving that Cardinale could hold her own in a gritty, action-driven American Western. But perhaps her most iconic role, at least for many cinephiles, came in Sergio Leone's operatic Western Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. As Jill McBain, a former prostitute who travels to her new husband's homestead only to find him and his children murdered, Cardinale delivered a performance of extraordinary strength and vulnerability. The scene in which she steps off the train, expecting to start a new life, only to be greeted by death, remains one of the most unforgettable in film history. Jill was a complex character, sensual yet resilient, grieving yet determined to survive, and Cardinale brought every layer to life. Leone himself reportedly said that the entire film was constructed around her character's emotional journey, a rare thing in a genre often dominated by gunslinging men. Off-screen, Cardinale was equally fascinating. She became an outspoken advocate for women's rights, particularly in an era when actresses were often treated as mere adornments. In interviews, she frequently spoke about her refusal to play submissive or purely decorative characters, and she championed the idea of women in film being portrayed as independent and intelligent. In her autobiography, she revealed that she had faced significant personal challenges early in her career, including a secret pregnancy as a teenager after a sexual assault. Rather than allow this to derail her life, she made the decision to keep her child and continue working, a choice that was both controversial and courageous in the conservative Italy of the 1960s. This experience seemed to infuse her later performances with a certain gravitas, a sense that the women she played had endured pain and yet remained unbroken. Cardinale's contributions to cinema earned her countless awards and honors over the years, including Lifetime Achievement Awards from major film festivals and institutions. Yet despite the accolades, she remained refreshingly down-to-earth, never seeming to believe too much in her own myth. Friends and collaborators often described her as warm, funny, and deeply loyal, someone who valued personal connections over celebrity status. Her beauty was legendary, but those who knew her well often said that it was her intelligence, her laugh, and her refusal to be anything other than herself that made her unforgettable.